What's up, and welcome back to Nowstalgia Pod, giving you your weekly look what's going on in pop culture. My name is Pat Sheen, joined by my trusty co-host, Dave Martin Swagger. Dave, how are you doing on this 4th of July?
Just running up that hill, my guy. Doing good.
Dave is the master of puppets for this show, and we're going to be talking about Stranger Things, Volume 2, Season 4, Volume 2, which is just strange to think that Stranger Things is, I don't know, I guess kind of over. We'll be talking about that as we get to the review. Just to also, like, did we need a volume 2 to this? We'll talk more about that as well. We have a little bit of music to talk about, another show called The Bear, as well as Emmy predictions. So hit that subscribe if you're watching on youtube.com/nostalgiapod, or follow us any way that you consume your podcasts. Dave, let's start though with a concert that you went to this weekend. Joey Badass, another hip hop concert in the books for you. How did this one go?
Yeah, saw Joey Badass for the 5th time in concert, but this was my first time seeing him as a solo headliner on tour. I saw him at Beast Coast, where he was one of the headliners, and then I saw him at the Meadows, and I saw him open up for Wiz Khalifa and A$AP Rocky way back in 2013. And of course, I also saw him open up for Logic in 2017. So this is my first time actually seeing him as the solo headliner, which I think was kind of cool to experience, just because ultimately, 90-minute show, 25 plus songs, really great if you're a Joey Badass fan. You get to hear a lot of those tracks. Also because famously, the 1999-2000 tour from Joey Badass, Joey Badass's long-anticipated third solo album, 2000, is not yet released. It was supposed to come out back June 24th, whenever that was?
Yeah, when Drake dropped.
Right, and then now it's coming out July 22nd. He made a joke about it on stage, that he did not push it back because of Drake. He would not have done that. He had, of course, alluded to sample clearance issues online earlier. So, in a sense, it's a bit of the last set list of its kind, or soon to be, on tour still. So other people will experience this too, but it was kind of cool to see the last Joey's first 10 years of his career set list. It's also funny to think that 27 years old and he's already been in the game 10 years. His 1999 mixtape, the debut, is from 2012. Dudes have been at it a long time. Started at such a young age, and I think he kind of talked about this too, kind of him coming back to music after basically being off the grid musically for some time, and to be able to sell out this tour and have all these fans made him feel really good. And I think there's a lot to that, he's more well known right now for being on Power and Mr. Robot and the star of the Oscar-winning live-action short film. He's not been rapping too much apart solo-wise, apart from the Beast Coast stuff a few years ago. So to hear him jump back into this as we were getting this album rollout was really fun. And I also was kind of struck seeing the show, seeing how many younger fans he has. Like I said, 10-year plus career. There were people there that were underage. You can tell by the X's on their hands. It's like, wow, you guys were dumb young when Joey Badass' career started, but you still are, you discovered the music. I think that's really cool to see for someone who's never been on a major label, and he came up making very traditional hip hop, traditionalist, old school music, and just kind of see him break through generationally in such a way, I think is really awesome and speaks well to, I think, his future. But he's a great performer. He has just tons of bangers, and people were very excited. I think the way this tour is set up, 1999-2000 tour, he does it kind of like a chronological progression through all of his projects to this point. So he started with all these 1999 tracks. Then he went to his Summer Nights mixtape. Then he went to his debut album, Before the Money. Then All American Badass. Then Beast Coast album. And then the single's already out for 2000. Really cool idea to kind of set it up that way. And just kind of hear the evolution of Joey, right? Someone who's traditional boom bap rapper and is now not that. Of course, his closing song, his biggest song, is Devastated, which is anything but dusty ass rap. So I think that was also kind of cool, just to go back through 1999 and hear Hard Knock and hear Waves and Righteous Minds, and of course his biggest song off that, Survival Tactics, was the first probably big pop of the show where everyone got really hyped. Um, the Capital Steez line, "Tell the bass god don't quit his day job," still had a really good response in the crowd, which was really fun to be with. Paper Trails, Up Before the Money, did really big too. Grace Conscious was huge. When he did Rockabye Baby from All American Badass, the line, "If you got the guts, say fuck Donald Trump," another one, big response. But I was kind of struck too. Uh, the Joey Badass feature on the XXS Tentacion album, question mark, he played that, and those young kids fucking love that song, man.
Oh yeah.
I guess that's to be expected, how popular X is with younger people.
Hmm.
But they ate that shit up. And actually, in the process of me seeing the first stop of this tour, I got to see Joey perform his new single, "Where I Belong," his first performance of that song, because
Wow.
it just came out that day. And
Did it hit?
it did hit. Yeah, that's a good song. I like that one. He played "The Highs and the Lows," a new song with Chance. He played his feature on the West Side Gun song, 327. I'd imagine some of these songs are probably going to get cut from the set list as more 2000 songs present themselves. The one Beast Coast song he did was "Distance." People started moshing for that. But I think the ending's really tight. He did a "Temptation," "Love Is Only a Feeling," and then "Devastated." And that was just, I think those songs kind of have like a more like a happier uh, vibe to them at
Hmm.
the end, and it's kind of fun to bounce around to those songs after hearing like the rapping ass rap songs earlier in the set. So overall, really fun time. Powers Pleasant was there as the tour DJ. He had bass guitar up there, he had keys up there. Uh, but yeah, I mean, he's kind of ripped through it, man. 90 minutes, 26 or so songs. Great time.
Sounds like he just absolutely killed it. Was there like a song that for you were hoping to hear that either didn't hit as well or maybe didn't
Hmm.
he didn't play?
Oh, that's a good question. Honestly, I wish he would have saved Survival Tactics for later in the night and in the show, because I mean, people love that song. People really like the energy level increased when that was like song 3. But I feel like if that was like song 23, it would have been
Mhm.
even more hype because people would have already moshed at that point. So I get though, he's doing the chronological thing. I'm trying to think. Paper Trails went big. Christ Conscience went big. Um, hmm. I wish you would have let Distance play all the way. I wish you would have let Issa Gold's verse from the Underachievers go too,
Mm.
and maybe Eric from Flatbush Zombies. But that's such a fun song, and honestly, the Joey part's like very quick, very fast in the beginning of that song. I would have loved to hear more of that because everyone was fucking pushing into each other and like bouncing around, and then the song ends.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Honestly, everything hit really good. I think because a lot of these songs, most of this music is 5 years old or more. Joey knows, like, he's done these songs so many times. He knows which of these songs he can play and
Yeah.
what to expect. So it was very finely tuned, and I'd be very curious to see what that set list looks like in a month's time, or 3 weeks time, when 2000 is out and there's more songs that Joey is going to play. So that's something to watch.
Awesome. Well, Joey Badass continues to just be a delight. I think he's just like a pros rapper at this point. He knows what he's doing. So glad you got to see him in concert. Do you have any others coming up soon?
Nothing on the calendar, but I'm keeping my eye on a last minute purchase for Lady Gaga at Fenway Park, Chromatical Ball. Very expensive. We're going to see
Right.
how that keeps it hanging, when we get closer to the show date. So we'll see.
I hope you can get tickets. That'd be incredible. Yeah. Well, we talked about all the concerts we see, but let's move forward to an album that we listened to this weekend, which is "Give or Take" from Giveon. The I guess like debut, but really Giveon's just been absolutely crushing the charts. I mean, you go
Yeah.
on his Spotify, man. Unbelievable. I mean, he's the 107th most listened to artist in the world right now, according to Spotify. But I mean, he's on songs that just did numbers.
Hmm.
Peaches, the version that he's on with Daniel Caesar, and obviously Bieber, Heartbreak Anniversary, and Chicago Freestyle all have at least over 400 million streams, with Peaches being
Hmm.
over a billion streams. Dude, I had no idea Peaches had that many. That's
That's
insane.
a record and Song of the Year nominee, my guy.
Insane. I didn't realize it was doing numbers like that. But yeah, so Giveon is someone that we've been aware of. Has a couple of projects under his belt, but this is technically his like studio
Right.
album
Yeah.
debut.
Two EPs
Um,
came out in 2020, and then he released them like combined as a compilation album. So this is like the
mhm.
proper debut album of new music.
And what was your overall temperature on listening through, give or take?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think going in with his Giveon album, having heard some of the music to this point, having heard I think Heartbreak Anniversary, which is like kind of a unconventional TikTok hit, unconventional TikTok rise as a slower ballad song, not what you necessarily associate with dance challenges or
Yeah.
virality online. Nonetheless, it is one of those songs still. Knowing this music, I think also just kind of thinking about like male R&B music. We talk so much about like the wave of female R&B singers these days, of
Mm.
which there are many, many to celebrate. And I think male R&B, a lot of the 2010s was kind of dry for male R&B music, and we haven't really even talked about a whole lot of it, to be honest. For that reason, I think apart from someone who's like obviously celebrated and kind of like almost above the space, like Frank Ocean, it's kind of been up and down. And I'm very curious to see the reception of the Brent Faiyaz album in a week's time,
Mm.
because I feel like him and Giveon are kind of like the true like faces of male R&B at this time, this very moment, in terms of like who's the hottest, who's making music people care about. And and apologies to Daniel Caesar, but I just kind of put those two above him. And I think with Giveon's like talent is like he has such a rich voice, but very specifically that baritone that he
Yeah.
has makes him stand out because he's different. And like a falsetto from Giveon just sounds different.
Yeah,
And
it's like I was talking with somebody, and that baritone almost sounds like he's like slowed down his voice intentionally through like some sort of auto tune. Like it's crazy. I've never heard a voice quite like that.
right, and I mean, he does. I think like song structure wise, he kind of does what you expect. It's ballad heavy for sure, and his biggest songs like Heartbreak Anniversary are ballads. So is a ballad, so that makes sense. So I think going in, I was kind of impressed that there were a few moments where it was like a bit more up tempo
Mm.
than your traditional balladry R&B album. For Tonight in particular stood out to me. One of the singles, the drums on there, just overall up tempo, and even though it's still a very ballady chorus, I feel like that production kind of feels like a different lane for Giveon. Having heard the other music. Um, Overall, though, I think it's kind of what you expect. You have another heartbreak, which kind of feels like a sequel track in a sense to the
Mhm.
biggest song of his career to this point. Um, and it's kind of just it is actually kind of funny to think that like he's on Peaches with Bieber, which was a great look for Bieber to give him because Giveon's career has risen very fast. But like Peaches is a song that's like so unlike like what Giveon's actual music is like.
Mhm.
And perhaps that sets the wrong expectations for people that weren't actually fans of him and perhaps aren't male R&B or R&B fans per se. They're more pop fans. Who knows? But yeah, I think overall this kind of does what I expected it to do. I don't know if it really changed my opinion on Giveon, but like I said, very curious to see what the other side of the coin looks like with Brent Faiyaz in a week.
In listening through to him, one of the artists that really came to mind was Sam Smith, who I think is
Hmm.
another person in this like R&B space with like a very unique voice, but also like came out with some hits at the beginning of his career, especially collaborating with Disclosure, that I think almost like set the expectations for him to be much different than his music really ended up being. And Sam Smith leans more into the dance sphere than Giveon does, so they're not like a one for one comparison. But I hear a lot of what we heard on some of those early Sam Smith albums, and I think like the subsequent like sophomore album that really like fell flat because like yeah, you're right. After knowing that we were gonna listen to this, I wanted to go back and hear like what hits been popping off, and obviously you hear Peaches, and you're like, man, like such a shot of adrenaline. The song's just bubblegum perfection, and then this album is just a lot slower. It's pretty much pure R&B, except for maybe a few tracks, and while his voice sounds awesome and unique, and I couldn't help but just think how he might be better utilized as like a feature on dance, tracks or
Yeah.
like backing vocals for a rapper rather than maybe like someone I want to listen to singularly.
Yeah, I mean, he of course broke out with
Yeah.
Chicago Freestyle with Drake, where it's exactly what you say, where he's just kind of laying down the chorus for
Hmm.
Drake raps. Of course, that was on Darkwing demo tapes in 2020. So yeah, I feel like that's how I approach a lot of R&B artists, where it's like you have these talents, but I feel like the unless there's like some like really impressive concept, when we're talking about like Frank or like go further back, like D'Angelo or someone, I don't know, but like this like the run of the mill R&B album always feels like kind of safe by definition to me. And
Yeah.
when you have like a really impressive or at least very unique vocalist like you have in Giveon, um, it is cool to think about what else you can get from that person. You know, because I feel
Hmm.
like he kind of comes across as a wholesome performer and he has wholesome lyrics and yeah, I think quite lyrically at the end there in Unholy Matrimony. But like, you know, not to keep bringing up Brent Fayez, but like Brent Fayez is again the other side of the coin because he's toxic as fuck. You know, that's not what
Yeah.
Giveon is. Giveon's more of like the like music you put on at the restaurant. I don't know, like it's just different.
Yeah, and I mean, there's definitely a lot of people who really love R&B, and I think there's a lot of like desire to have that sphere be more robust. You know, you think back to like the 1990s and 2000s, and R&B was top of the charts a lot of times. You know, Boys to Men was like absolutely
Right.
dominating, during their time, and it's just like I guess I just don't know if it's a movement in terms of what people want in terms of popular music at this point, or if it's just that the talent in that sphere has just changed, or moved in different directions that just don't hit as well. But it just
Yeah.
feels like there's like a real emptiness. But we're taking away a little bit from the actual, like, I think, album,
Hmm.
because I do think there are some things to like on here, right? And I think one of the tracks that stood out to me was "At Least We Tried." I really love his performance on that one. I just think like it's very toned down, but it really just allows him to like really show out that like R&B vocal performance and kind of go all over the place.
Hmm.
And he kind of comes out of that baritone at times in a way that I think allows me to like really appreciate how good of a singer he is, cuz like I said, sometimes when he's just sitting in that baritone for like the whole song, I'm almost like, is this just auto tune? Like I actually thought um I thought what's the hit there? Heartbreak, whatever the,
Anniversary.
yeah, anniversary, the TikTok song. I actually thought that was just auto tuned like low. I thought that was just slowed down to be that way. So I was like totally surprised when I found out that was just his actual voice. So yeah, that was one that I thought he kind of broke out of that mold a little bit. Were there any tracks that you really liked though?
Yeah, I mentioned for tonight just for the more
Yeah.
up tempo production. I think overall too, I did appreciate the kind of the framing of the story of this album in terms of him like having like it being in conversation with his mother and like talking
Mm,
about what he's done, what he's gonna do, things like that. It's kind of cool. But yeah, I think like to your point, there can be times where the performance can sound almost nondescript, even though it's like strong singing. You know, I feel like that's a big negative for like blacks music, six lax music. You know, it's just
mhm.
very nondescript. Givion's
Right.
voice though is strong enough that he can still push through, and even like a down the middle Giveon song still sounds quite nice
Mhm.
because I think he's just that level of singer. So you know, I
Yeah.
think if I was a bigger R&B fan, I'd probably like connect more with like the overall like vision of this album a little bit more. But you know, it's hard not to be impressed with the vocal talent. Um, and yeah, I mean, like you kind of said, I mean, there is a kind of a sense of devoid sense of openness with male R&B because everyone who does this kind of goes pop, goes dance or something, right? The
Yeah.
Weekend, Khalid,
Yeah.
Ty Dolla Sign, you know, more hip hop, more guest spotting, you know, the list goes on. Chris Brown, of course. So the fact that Giveon to this point though is still really, you know, making R&B music, I think perhaps that's commendable in its own regard. He's really sticking to his guns.
Yeah, that I really like that point. Just want to shout out one more song for tonight, which if you're gonna go with the Sam Smith comparison, man, I mean that song feels just like "Stay with Me" from Sam Smith's breakout album, or debut album, I should say.
Mhm.
So I thought that was another standout track, and one where you kind of hear him pushing both ends of the range, going from the high baritone to his higher vocal performance in this. So I think there are probably going to be more interesting things to come from Giveon, but for a first studio album, I think that this is a decent debut, and yeah, he's gonna be someone we're talking about for quite a while. So follow the Nowstalgia Best of 2022 playlist, where we'll be putting a Giveon song on that, as well as all the songs that we enjoy from the week. But let's talk the Bear. The Hulu, I guess we'll say like kind of breakout show here,
Yeah.
right? Like I didn't see this coming at all, and it's been getting a lot of attention um, recently. Only 8 episodes, looking at a chef who was working in high uh, cooking,
Yeah.
high
Noma French Laundry,
yeah, like
high cuisine.
yeah, high cuisine in New York City. Had some mental health issues. His brother dies by suicide, and he is left with his brother's restaurant in Chicago and moves back home to try to get the restaurant in some sort of working order. That's like the general premise of this show. We
Yeah.
watched the whole season. Dave, I mean, what's your feeling after watching The Bear? Is this like a breakout hit to you, or something that's being overhyped?
Yeah, that's good. That's good. That is the question. The Bear, definitely a pleasant surprise. Definitely came out of nowhere. FX show debuting on Hulu was not on my radar, and I am a fan of FX. They make very good TV all the time, so I just kind of had this sneak up on me, and it feels like it's snuck up on a lot of people. But
Mhm.
I think it's a really impressive show for its three central acting performances, but overall the framing or construction of the show centering on maintaining this like kinetic tension in the kitchen of a small restaurant and not being afraid to really deepen your characters over the course of 4 hours, often in the background, subtly, over time, layering in so much subtext to these characters' relationships, and grounding a lot of that in like personal trauma more so than like more uh, overt, like, cooking dramatic cliches. Not that there's not a cliche in the show, but like I was just kind of impressed that like the things that the bear cares about thematically was quite fun to be with. Despite the fact that it's a very tension filled show. I think people have been bringing up like Uncut Gems as a comparison, where like it's
Hmm.
rarely a pleasant watch in that regard. There's always a lot of stress that the characters are experiencing, and often that's passed on to the viewer. But I think partially the surprise, but overall, just I think the intelligent way the show is telling its story, I think, really impressed me.
Yeah, I think that was probably the piece that I was left with most, feeling like the show very much could have just been a restaurant show where they're really just like digging into this culture, to living off that tension of having to meet all the demand of online orders and the people that day and making new dishes and all the dynamics in the kitchen, but in grounding it in a
Mm.
family really trying to heal from trauma, and then also kind of taking into account like the dynamics of this restaurant that is its own family dealing with its own trauma from this, and how each person kind of was a part of this unhealthy dynamic that was around Michael, Carm's brother, who dies by suicide. And I just think it's really well told. I did feel like it was a little bit like almost like rushed at the end of the season. I wish it
Hmm.
had been 10 episodes, because I think there was I would have liked like a little bit more time to like explore a little bit more about like Sydney and Carm kind of coming together with like a singular vision at the end. I would have liked to have, I think, just had a little bit more time. I guess also I thought this was gonna be 10 episodes, so when it was only 8 and there wasn't another ninth episode, I was like, what the hell? Like, I need to see more of this. But yeah, I was just really blown away. I really enjoyed it, and man, I mean, we had seen Jeremy Allen White in Homecoming, with a side part in
Oh,
that,
that's right.
but he is mostly known for his performance on Shameless, which we haven't watched. At least I haven't. I don't think you
No,
have either.
no.
So I was just really blown away by his performance in this. Like he looks so regular, but also so unique at the same time, and he really jumps off the screen.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think him, Eben Moss Baccarat, and Io Ad-
A
Adibiri,
debrief. Yeah.
Adibri, those three performances need to work for this show to work in the way it's trying to work. And
Mhm.
thankfully, they all work. They're all excellent performances, and they really color in these characters in such a, I think, there's such a rich way. And even on the side, you have like Lionel Boyce as the pastry chef. Lionel Boyce, once known as L Boy of Odd Future
Yeah.
for the real ones. You have Maddie Matheson, the famous chef, kind of there coming in as the guy who doesn't really work for them, but is like their handyman. Like there's a lot of like faces coming in and out. But the thing, your three main characters though are all really strong, and I, like I said, like I like how the show didn't go in the obvious directions. Like there is the moment where everything blows up in episode 7, the penultimate ultimate episode where they episode review. That's like the moment where you get like the like abuse in the kitchen, which is like something that's like been talked about as something that these people don't want to do. Specifically Sydney, in terms of how she wants to like improve the way people work and how she works in kitchens and stuff like that. But this show doesn't like go down the like uh difficult man abusive auteur chef lane that it could have gone. Even though
Yeah.
Carm is that guy in that episode, that's not actually what this show is interested in,
Mhm.
because it's such a more personal form of storytelling. And like I appreciated that. I feel like if this show was made 10 years ago, like that's obviously what they're going to do. And then Carm is like Gordon Ramsay, and that's how they tell the story. But that's not
Right.
what they do. And that's pretty impressive because like Carm's personal life and family life is the actual thing that they're concerned about
Mhm.
on the bear, which I liked. Um, yeah, I think those three performances. Evan Moss Baccarat, someone who has been in a million things, but I feel like I couldn't really place where I had seen him before. I think his biggest role is probably on the Punisher in a supporting role, I guess, when I looked it up. But yeah, I thought he also is kind of note perfect as the kind of character he's playing, which is this kind of like more or less a deadbeat guy who doesn't have a lot going on and has this kind of like deep sadness that he represses through his like antics and
Mhm.
outward behavior and things like that. Yeah, I mean, there's just so much like on the surface or just on the side or things that are left unsaid that makes this place, this restaurant, this world feel so lived in and so rich over 30-minute episodes over only 4 hours, which is, I think, again, what would is it for me like the shining achievement is like how successful this is in such an economical way.
Yeah. Yeah. I like the point you made about like it not going into that like difficult man, difficult chef, really toxic, like, you know, kitchen, but he's so good that you just have to like forgive him. Like you just have to go back and continue working for him type of thing. And I really liked the dynamic between Carm and Sydney in the whole show. I think not only having this like young up and comer with Carm, who presents as pretty young himself, but is obviously the character is more established and well known, and people kind of know his abilities. But it kind of like this reminder of like why like he got into cooking in the first place, like wanting to like explore and like make things. And then you get in the final episode like why Carm went more into high cuisine, which is
Mm-hmm.
because his projection from his brother. And obviously that monologue from him at the Al-Anon meeting at the beginning of
Yeah,
episode 8 is that's going to be the Emmy reel that they show, because I think Jeremy Allen White just absolutely crushes that. I was really, really impressed with his delivery, and that whole episode 8 is, I think, like no perfect. Not, I mean, finding the money inside the tomato cans is like just so crazy and ridiculous. Is like, okay, well, they wanted to do something to like put this in a different spot for season 2 for sure. But I thought the whole like scene with him with the letter and him talking in the monologue about how his brother made everybody feel like they could do anything, and his
mm,
his phrase was "let it rip," and then he opens the letter and it says "let it rip," and I just was like, oh my god, it's
yeah,
so perfect. And like you see Bernthal, I think it's in episode 5 or 6, and he just
6.
fucking he just fucking jumps off the screen, dude. Like it's unbelievable. He's that guy is just like everything he does right now. He's absolute golden. But
Yeah,
like that line, like "let it rip," like it just sounds like it's coming from his mouth when you read it. It's really amazing how the show does that. And I also wanted to shout out one other performance that I really loved, which is Sugar,
yeah.
Carm's sister, played by Abby Elliott, who has like a pretty thankless job in this show. Like she doesn't really get to do a lot of the fun antics. She's not really running around like doing the like side quest kind of thing. The only time she really gets more than like to be Carm's like reminder of like, oh, you're not the only person suffering in the show, is when she's coming in and like looking for the tax paper or whatever she needs to get the IRS off of her back for that episode. But I really think without her, the show doesn't totally hit emotionally, because you kind of have Carm having these like nightmares, trauma flashbacks type of thing. But I think really grounding it as like, Carm, you aren't the only person in this world. You aren't the only person in this
Hmm.
kitchen type of thing really is what like brings the family aspect into the show, which I think is where the show levels up, in my opinion. So,
Totally.
it's fun to see Maddie Matheson run around and be ridiculous. It's fun to see him and Evan Moss, Bacharach. Like their dynamic is really funny. You know, Richie telling Neil that he can't work there, and like that whole like
And then
fight that they
later,
get into.
later when Richie gets stabbed at the end, he's like, that was pretty fucking tough when you just got stabbed and like
Yeah,
just walked over here and took care of it. That was pretty metal.
yeah. I
However he
thought
says
that.
it.
Yeah, I thought that was great. I really I thought there were some really funny aspects of this show, like when they do the kids party with the hot
Oh,
dogs and they have the Xanax bottle fall
oh,
into the juice. Oh my god,
Zanned out.
so funny. And yeah, then you have a couple of like just like really great actors just kind of coming in for guest spots. Oliver Platt is kind of in and out as Cicero, but Mikhail as the chef in New York
Joel
City
McHale.
who's being emotionally abusive to him. You have John Bernthal, like I mentioned, and Molly Ringwald as the Al-Anon meeting moderator in episode
Yeah.
8 was just like, I had to like pause and like make sure I was like, that was actually her. It was pretty like, took me back, but yeah, the show is just really wonderful as a whole. Feels kind of like the Ted Lasso this year, right?
For very different reasons, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of coming out of nowhere, it's definitely the biggest surprise thus far, and we've seen a lot of good shows. One thing I should note too, I saw this thrown out, and I can't speak to this, but like, I think there's some pushback from some native Chicagoans for the way
Mhm.
Chicago's presented in The Bear, specifically through Richie primarily. It's like how this restaurant is existing in a changing neighborhood, gentrification, things are changing, people are moving out, blah, 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 right? But like, and the show very pointedly tells you this is a post-COVID situation. The
Yeah.
restaurant made it through, and you kind of learn how that happened later on. But the thing though that some of the Chicagoans are pushing back on is the fact that like this neighborhood, I think it's called Riverfront or something like that. Uh,
Mhm.
I forget. This neighborhood gentrified like 10 plus years ago. Like it's just kind of an outdated like source of tension for this actual situation where this is actually like a very corporate area, and the
Yeah.
fact that you're putting these like local like Chicago towny mobsters on the street is just like super unrealistic for what they're actually supposed to be going for in a post-COVID Chicago in this space. Like, so I think like the Chicago stuff is a bit messy if you kind of actually know what you're being served here. um I did think the Sufjan Stevens drop was a bit on the nose
Oh,
there.
you think? Well, the
um
whole soundtrack, they're really leaning into Chicago. I mean,
yeah,
Wilco shows up multiple times.
yeah,
Like, okay, they're really just
no
going for
Kanye,
it.
I was kind of expecting that.
This had like a more like punk
Yeah.
alternative vibe, I guess, right?
Yep. So I think that's just something to note, just as a different perspective. But I think overall, like if you can set that aside, the dramatic tension, the character work really succeeds to me, and where the show tells you it cares about most in terms of Sydney, Richie, and Carm, like, and then just an amazing cameo from Bernthal, like that alone, I think is worth it. And again, it's so short, it's so efficient in its storytelling. Another huge W for the half-hour format. Once again, this is very much a
Yeah.
dramatic show in 30 minutes.
Yeah, and just I think people are going to be talking about, but that episode 7 you talked about review, that's going to be the episode that probably stands out most from the season. Not only for it being like the most tension filled. I mean, that's like the uncut gems like ask
Yeah,
episode to me, but it's a oneer. You know, it's a
yeah.
one shot episode, continuous take the whole time. Just really stands out as an episode of TV. Probably one that will be on list at the end of the year. So worth checking out for sure. But I think we're going to move on from Hulu on or FX on Hulu to Netflix, where Stranger Things season 4, volume 2 finally dropped. 4 hours of television, Dave. Were you expecting 4 more hours of Stranger Things? I think we were, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, we knew the lengths going in. They've been advertising a 2.5 hour finale. Um, but it is very outrageous episode lengths for these final 2 episodes of season 4. And I think it's just bad form, bad technique, honestly, and gets in the way of some of the good moments that I think hit well and are effective and fun to be with. And it's just the supersizing of Stranger Things season 4, I think, did more harm than good ultimately, which is frustrating because I think you could argue this is the second best Stranger Things season. You know,
Yeah,
maybe the
I
third
mean,
best. Definitely better than season 3.
yes, definitely better than season 3, and I would probably put it number 2 in my rankings behind obviously season 1, which I think is
Mm-hmm.
like just a dynamite season, caught lightning in a bottle type thing. Yeah, I think this is the sort of thing where you're like, you either make this just a longer season or you get a better editor because this is these are really long episodes. I I do have to say I really enjoyed both episodes. I think there's some real like nice moments. I think the way it's kind of put together, and this is something we talked about in our volume 1 review from season 4. It's a messy season. There's just so much going on. There's too many characters, too many storylines. I do feel like they kind of tie it all together pretty well, but it's kind of funny because there's like this like scene in the fourth episode where all these things have to start happening at one time, and there's like 5 or 6 things that all happen at once, and I'm just like I don't know if the timelines are really lining up here the way that they were hoping
Yeah.
it would, but I guess it works. But I think overall, I was pretty satisfied with this ending. Did you feel the same way?
Yeah, I have one major note, but I think, like, to your point about the Duffer Brothers needing an editor, but like they won't allow themselves to have an editor because they
Yeah.
won't kill anybody, and they only add characters. Thus, they need to supersize these episodes. They need to cut and cut and cut to a new plot because they have all these fucking plots they want to serve. They just won't whittle anything down. They're actively choosing to not whittle anything down. And that just gets in the way of storytelling. That just
Mm.
makes it messy. And we're getting into spoilers, but like when they actually might take a major character and have them not come back and die, even then, they don't actually do it. They take it back. And now this person is in a coma in the hospital
Man,
bed. They died so the gate can open for Vecna, but they came back to life. Brief, technical, scientific death, but then of course were resurrected and is in a coma. It's like unbelievable, honestly.
yeah, and I guess like Vecna has to do it himself, but like Eddie just doesn't count. Like what? Eddie actually died from Vecna's like
Yeah, I guess because
creatures,
he was
right?
in the upside down when he died. Is that why it doesn't count?
I guess. Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
Right.
I think this is also where like when you get into this inception level of like 11 is within a dream, within a memory, within this upside down. It's like okay, I don't know how exactly
Right.
she piggybacked here, but it works, I
Oh yeah,
suppose.
that's just so funny too. 11's like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna piggyback. I'm just gonna do this thing from here. We don't have to go 2,000 miles and get there. And everyone just like, oh, okay. And as like the viewer, I'm like, am I supposed to like already know what this power means? Like, because I don't. I mean,
Yeah,
sure. I think just the nebulousness of 11's powers and the fact that she's getting stronger and now she can apparently resurrect people to a certain extent. It's like I don't like the elimination of stakes via Deus Ex 11, you know, but she's also our central figure, so I guess it is what it is. The show has progressed to an endgame. We know season 5 is the final season. Um, perhaps season 5, due to the Upside Down joining the world in earnest the way it has in Hawkins, everyone will be more or less in one place for once. Wishful
Hmm.
thinking probably, because you have fucking 15 people to worry about, but like, that's something to think about.
Yeah, and it's not only just like people who have nothing else going on. Like these are people who are pretty famous, all have things going on now.
Right.
I mean, a few actors will definitely be available, but I think especially after the season, some of them are going to start getting more and more looks by the time season 5 rolls
Right.
around. So definitely going to be interesting to see how they pull that together. Let's talk about these 2 episodes though. So episode 1 was very much like a let's get the plan together, let's get everybody together, let's like figure out how we're going to do this. And episode 2 was more like the execution of this plan. How did you feel like that kind of format worked, where like episode 1 was like, or episode 8 I guess was let's get everything together, and 9 was like let's do it.
Yeah, I think for me, like 8, I didn't love 8 as much as 9, because I think 8, it's just a great example of kind of like the bloat that the Duffers have with their storytelling, where like I didn't need to like spend like parts of multiple episodes at this like base with Brenner and Paul Reiser and 11,
Hmm.
because like the whole fact that Brenner's actually alive still is like complete nonsense anyway. We've been spinning our wheels for so long with Matthew Modine. Like, I
Yeah.
just wanted that to be done with. Then the tension of the government chasing them down, the military, army, whatever force that was, that just kind of goes nowhere at the end of the day.
Hmm.
Great set piece, obviously from
Yeah.
11, taking out the heli and stuff. But like the fact, oh, now Papa's like really dead. It's like, well, who knows? Maybe 11 can bring him back too. I don't know. But like, I was just so ready for that shit to be done. I
Hmm.
think that whole like side plot I just was not interested in. Like, you have Mike and Jonathan and Will and Argyle just like doing their thing out on the side, and it's like, honestly, they're not doing jack this whole season. Finn
Hmm.
Wolfhard, our Mike Wheeler, our once co-lead protagonist, is just completely on the side, in terms
No,
of any
dude,
like.
he's the heart. He's the heart. I thought
So
that
so I
was
was just ready for that to be done. I also, I think the worst plot of the whole season, which continues through volume 2, of course, is everything going on in Russia, which is just completely unnecessary and bogs down the whole season. And as much as I love Winona Ryder's choice, I think she's really great, and even Harbor is doing a good job as Hop. And I like Brett Gelman a lot; he's funny, but like that's just completely unnecessary. And another thing that like served really no purpose, to go back to Russia and like deal with the Soviets who we had met in season 3. Like, it just there's no tension there, and it's just a way for them to create this reunion, between Joyce and Hop, because they wouldn't kill Hop in the season 3.
hmm
It's like, so I think I just kind of like wish that shit just never happened at all, because we could have kept it moving more.
yep.
Um, but like you said, I think they do as good a job as they can in their, the walls they erect for themselves, where like they try and nail everything down, and you know cross all their T's as best they can. So like, in that sense, it is satisfying to like see everything progress. But I was definitely having the best time when I was with, Steve and, Nancy and that crew.
Yeah, I can totally agree with those takes. It almost feels like the 11 stuff could have just been like, I actually had forgotten that the government was still like after like trying to stop her, so it felt like they could have just like really done away with that right at the beginning. And the Russia stuff, like kind of the same. Almost, we almost kind of just needed them to be like, all right, you're going to get the helicopter up and running, and we're gonna get back to this prison to kill these flares. Like that's kind of all we really needed to know for this like plan to go through. So I really could have used a little bit less time there. I also didn't really like any of the stuff where they're like hunting down the Hellfire crew, like the jocks
Oh
from
yeah,
school and that
yeah,
stuff. Like,
they stink.
couldn't stand that. And I guess like the whole reason you needed, I forgot what that main jock's name was, to like come and fight Lucas was to um like break the headset really, and then like give Lucas someone to like fight back with, like in a
Yeah,
reason why he couldn't like put the music on Max. um I guess because Max had to die. Like it's kind of just like I guess I don't really know why we still had this person, but I'm glad that they just like gave us the minimal amount of time with that storyline because I really feel like that didn't work. Uh, one thing I was kind of curious about, and Master of Puppets has a moment in this. The song Master of Puppets by Metallica has a moment in this where Eddie, is like, I'm gonna go full metal to like draw these bats over to us in
Yeah,
this like
there's
plan.
distraction.
And it's like it feels almost like they filmed. I'm sure they didn't, but it almost feels like they filmed that after the Kate Bush thing because they're like, "Man, Kate Bush really popped off. Let's really make another like music moment in this." Because I mean, in past seasons, like '80s culture was a huge thing. But do you remember music being like this much of like a central part of the Stranger Things like plot? Like
No,
Kate
I don't.
Bush was everywhere in the second volume too.
Yeah, so running up the hill is like a central like motif for this whole season. And it's like
Yeah.
so much beyond the fact that Max is just running that tape back all the time to
Mm-hmm.
help progress through some trauma and PTSD she's experiencing. And that was actually kind of a intelligent thing for them to imbue in her character and like how she's
Yeah.
like, you know, not having the best time. And I liked how they set that up at least. But like, yeah, I think more than anything, Stranger Things ever since its inception has been like, look at this, very obvious and on the nose, but ultimately loving and full of homage tribute to Spielberg and Amblin and just in general late 70s 80s ephemera. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's just that encompasses many things, not just music. But it was kind of interesting to see, yeah, in this season you have music itself play such a specific part, and I mean, this the whole phenomenon of Kate Bush is blowing the fuck up from this song. I mean,
Yeah.
she's herself and whoever owns her royalties. The estimate is now like 2 million plus in earnings from Running Up the Hill since this happened. The song peaking at number 4 in the country, and
Insane.
just a great example, I think, of the democratization of the streaming economy and how older music is much more viable in the streaming and TikTok world. And look no further than Kate Bush. And I mean, if you thought Fleetwood Mac's Dreams a few years back was big, I mean, it's nothing
Oh my
like
god.
this. But
No.
to the Duffer Brothers' credit, they actually really weaved in a song, which is a popular song back in the day, but more of a deep cut, weaving in a song in such a way to their storytelling, um, it really stuck with people. So I got to give it to them for that.
Yeah, and I gotta say the scene was pretty like fun. It just felt like
Right.
so like shoot in. But I guess Master of Puppets, just looking back, was that album did drop in '86, which I think is the year that they're in this. So I guess that
Sure.
makes sense. That might be like where he's at. I also do not believe Eddie could play that guitar solo. So that was just like, I mean, we're
Right.
already suspending so much belief, but he just fucking crushed that. Um, I do think that was pretty fun. That has also been a song that's climbing the charts a little bit. Also, you get a little bit of Journey, Worlds Apart, which I was just like,
Yeah.
that's like a pretty cool ending to episode 8. In episode 9, I mean, a lot of things happen there. What were your like favorite parts of 9?
Yeah, it's a good question.
I think for me, the parts that really stand out, I really enjoyed when you see Elle kind of have this like face to face with Vecna, and you
Mm.
see like a bit of Vecna's backstory come to light. But then Elle and Mike, talking to her through the wherever she is in the void or wherever they call that, and I think like that moment really works and is like very emotional. I think
Mm.
also like all the build up to the plan actually happening,
Yeah.
Lucas and Max like writing the notes to each other back and forth is really effective. Steve and Nancy and Sally Hawk's character's name is escaping me for some reason.
Maya Hawk, Robin.
Maya Hawk, yeah, Robin. Sorry, I called her Sally Hawk again. I do that all the time. But yeah, I thought like all of that like pre stuff where they're all having these like heart to hearts with each other is like really great. And I was almost
Mhm.
like, I just wish we weren't so bogged down in the sci-fi aspect at times. I really wish like
Yeah.
the like character aspect was a little bit more prominent. Maybe that's what will happen in parts of season 5 to come, but not super optimistic for it.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I don't know how you can get less sci-fi when the abyss has opened up into reality the way it has at
yeah.
the end of this season.
The 4 horsemen are on their way. Apparently, is like the thing. I guess.
Yeah.
So
I just some things. Like I liked actually how Argyle kind of like was a kindred spirit with the other guy at a
Yeah,
surfer boy pizza, whatever that chain
that
was. I
was
thought that
awesome.
that was pretty funny. You know,
That whole like getting the like sensory deprivation tank together too. I loved all that stuff like in the pizza like place. That was great.
yeah. I mean, also, I think with that plot, probably the most monumental thing that happened. I think it's kind of across both episodes. I don't remember. Uh, Will, basically expresses his feelings to Mike, but he substitutes himself for 11 in how he's expressing these feelings to Mike, and you can tell that he's very emotional about how he feels, and they also show that Jonathan is picking up on it. However,
Mhm.
then they have a talk, the two brothers at the pizza place, and it's not actually acknowledged out in the open the
Mhm.
way Robin, for example, is just a lesbian,
Yeah.
but like it's not out in the open. To this point, the sexuality of Will Byers has been subtext, and now
Mhm.
they have presented it in such a way where it can no longer be subtext, and it
Yeah.
has to actually progress beyond subtext, and Will needs to be queer in some way because otherwise those scenes make no fucking sense, and it's honestly really exploitive shit.
Yeah.
Now, he doesn't necessarily have to come out to everyone. We're talking about the 80s after
Mhm.
all. Um, on the other hand, the fact that Jonathan even noticed it in some way, kind of atypical for a straight guy in the 80s to notice that kind of
Mhm.
stuff. We can let it slide. But I thought that was very notable because that is clear progression of this thing that's been going on with Will for some time in the show. And you really hope that they pay it forward in a meaningful way in season 5. If they're going to do it in season 5, I don't mind them playing out the string a little bit more, but I think they're kind of at the point of no return now with
Yeah.
what's Will Byers' sexuality. Like they've presented it in such a way where now they actually do need to like comment on it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I definitely felt like they were about to, and then you had the conversation between the two brothers, and I was like, oh, I guess they're just not going to really address this yet. Um, yeah, I mean, I guess I wanted to ask you, like, season 5. I suspect they're gonna probably do something similar, where it's these like super bloated long episodes.
Mm.
Is there anything that like you are hoping to see in season 5, or anything that you any like storylines that you particularly
Mm.
like? I can't wait to see how they wrap that up.
That's a good
I'm
question.
interested to see where they
Go
go
ahead.
with like the Steve, Nancy, and
Yeah,
Will love triangle. Sorry, not Will. Jonathan.
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 Yeah.
I think that's
Hmm.
probably the most interesting like relationship dynamic to me. But what about you?
Yeah, I was totally there for like seeing Nancy and Steve kind of be like, there's still something here, isn't there?
Yep.
The way they're looking at each other. I was like, yeah, I'm ready for that to happen. And I've
Yep.
already said before, I'm not the biggest Jonathan fan as far as the ensemble goes. So yeah, definitely looking for that. Honestly, I would just like the storytelling to be in such a way where more of the actors really have like emotional range to display. I thought Caleb McLaughlin was really tremendous towards the end there as Lucas when like he thinks Max is dead,
Hmm.
and he realizes that like the tape is broken and he can't save her. He's gonna watch her die right in front of him. Like he did a really good job there. And
Yeah.
honestly, for the most part, this show has only really reserved that kind of material for 11. And
Hmm.
now I feel like 11 is kind of beyond that, where like her backstory stuff is more or less closed off with Brenner now dead, we hope.
Hmm.
But if anything, it'll be her friends probably where she would express that grief or like how she did with Max. So I just want to see more of that. Um,
Yeah.
in terms of like presenting, I think like presenting dramatic stakes in the best way this show can for a show that doesn't want anybody to die and will take things back and change what you think has happened. If they can present things in a dramatic way for the kids more than anything, I feel like Joyce and Hop have had dramatic
Hmm.
material already too. If the kids can have like I think meaningful uh, dramatic arcs in some way amongst the end game of Stranger Things, clearly sci-fi end game, I think that could be considered a win. But to the Duffers' credit, I think they really put the show in a position to at least attempt that if they want to attempt that.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm almost like looking forward to them just like resolving Vecna and then seeing how all of the characters move forward after with
Yeah,
whoever survives, which might be everybody, might be only a few, we'll see. It feels like one of the main crew probably won't make it out. Like I feel like eventually they have to like someone has to go. Maybe
yeah.
it's like Max like comes out of her coma for like a brief moment and then actually like goes. I don't know because
Dust.
like
Imagine if they killed Dustin though.
dude, that would be. I mean, that would be ballsy because he's like the he's like the. I feel like the audience avatar in a lot of ways. You
Right.
know, kind of like the
I would say Mike, but like
no.
Mike's been so lame for 2 seasons. It's like that wouldn't actually hit as much as you'd think it would hit. So
Yeah, and plus the whole like Mike 11 relationship, they really want you to like ship that when it's just become Steve and Nancy, pretty much the whole time.
yeah,
I don't know. We'll see where the show goes, but I'm really glad that it got back into form this season.
right.
And I hope they don't do the split it up where here's 3/4 of the season and then enjoy these last two. But I suspect they'll
Yeah,
do that if the stock market continues the way it has for Netflix. So
right. I would say just make movies or make TV. Pick a lane.
all right, Alan Sepinwall, fine. Actually, speaking of TV though, let's talk Emmys because man, Emmy nominations are going to be dropping soon. Um,
Tuesday,
and
the 12th.
I can't believe it's Emmy's time again. I guess this is where I just want to
Yeah.
start with this. Like, how the hell is it Emmy's time again? I have no idea. We're going to be going through all of the main categories from limited, comedy, and drama. But Dave, I mean, just overall, Emmy nominations. Where are you at? Are you excited for these ones?
Yeah, I was with you on that. These Emmy nominations come out July 12th. The Emmys themselves will happen September 12th. So, you know, before you know it, it's the end of the year again. Don't you love when that happens? I don't know. I mean, it's been an amazing TV year. I've seen a lot of shows I've liked. And that's strictly 2022. Of course, the Emmy period is not actually that. Of course, it's June 1st, 2021 to May 31st, 2022. That's the eligibility period here we're talking about. So shows like The Bear, which just came out that we loved, not this Emmy year. But regardless, I mean, there's a lot of big shows to discuss, like Succession coming back into the Emmy fold, for example. Um,
Mhm.
Limited series is just a complete bloodbath. Seems like
Yeah.
every year now. Just the way peak TV goes, where like that seems to be where like the talent really crystallizes, these low, short commitment type series. So that's always really exciting. Comedy is not as light as it was last year. There's more stuff out there to choose from, but in general, yeah, the movie product has been lighter. There's just less movies being released this year. The COVID effects have really kind of come to a fore this year for that. But TV has been really soldiering through, and I think everyone talked about this, but like the April to end of May time frame where all these shows were coming out to make the Emmy uh, eligibility window presented us with this situation where there were lots of shows that just were not given the attention they deserve because professional people can only devote so much time. And the average person obviously only has so much time or willingness to dedicate to watching TV. So
Mhm.
you have all these great shows that are often very expensive or littered with huge actors getting like no attention at all. I think of like Gaslit on Stars with Sean Penn and fucking Julia Roberts.
Yeah.
It feels like a show that came and went despite the reviews being really strong.
Mhm.
We've talked about this for 6 weeks. There was just so much TV coming out, and now you're going to see where there's going to be shit that's going to be snubbed at these Emmys. It's inevitable at this point. I think the group think aspect where like a small group of shows get lots of nominations. That's probably going to hurt more than usual because there's so much deserving of recognition that you really wish they would spread the wealth more than any other time, but
Mhm.
that's probably not how it's going to go. So there's a lot of tough decisions to be made by the voting, but there's also just so much to pick from.
There's a shit ton to pick from, dude. And like you said, limited series is a bloodbath. It's limited series. Anthology series or movie is the category, and yeah, it feels like somehow that is just like extremely stacked. And you look at comedy, and comedy is kind of like and then drama gets back to being stacked, in my opinion, as well. And we're going to work our way from the supporting to the lead to the overall series nominations or our predictions for those. Why don't we start with supporting actress in a limited series, anthology series or movie? I'm just going to say limited series from here on out,
Mm-hmm.
though. So, I mean, this category has quite a few different shows that could be represented. Maid is one that we have not talked about, but seems like there's a potential to have some potential nominations in this
Mm-hmm.
category. White Lotus, of course. Anything we're talking about with limited series, White Lotus is in the conversation. Um, Hawkeye, Florence Pugh, maybe sneaking in there. What are you expecting for this supporting actress category?
Yeah, I'd also say Gaslit is another one of those limited series that seems
Yeah,
to be especially favored to get lots of nominations. So along those lines, I think Caitlin Deaver is she's going to probably show up for Gaslit. I don't know. This is actually a category where there was only a few things that came to mind. I think Jennifer Coolidge in The White Lotus is a pretty obvious selection. Honestly, not my favorite part of The White Lotus. Check that
no,
review. But it seems like that's this where this is going. You also have Connie Britton from The White Lotus as well. It would honestly probably feel like a bit much to pick both of them,
I
given
don't. Yeah,
things to choose from, but you never know. It depends how this goes. Someone who I would love and is super deserving of this nomination, but perhaps it's not going to happen, would be Daniel Deadweiler from Station 11 and HBO
hmm
Max.
yeah, I would love to see that as well. I'm not sure if the money would be the smart money would be on her. I think if anything, probably someone from Maid, whether it's Andy McDowell or Anika Noni Rose, is probably going to get one. I would guess Andy McDowell, but I'm
Hmm.
not 100% sure on that. Betty Gilpin from Gaslit. I mean, we love Betty Gilpin here, and if Gaslit is gonna get a bunch of noms, maybe that's where it will start for the night. Um, yeah, I mean, could you see them giving Florence Pugh the nomination just to have the big name star at the show?
Well, if you think about last year, WandaVision, Elizabeth Olsen was nominated for the
Mm,
lead limited actress performance. That would be, I mean, Hawkeye's such a mediocre show, but Florence Pugh is great. Man,
mm,
I don't think I can see that one.
yeah,
Honestly, no
it
way.
would be tough. Especially, you look at some of these other like big names that are potentials for this category. Laurie Metcalf for The Dropout,
Yeah,
Regina
such a small
Hall,
part, honestly.
yeah, Regina Hall for Nine Perfect Strangers, Rosario Dawson for Dopesick couldn't be nominated, and Toni Collette for The Staircase, which just snuck in there. So, I mean, there's a lot of big names that could potentially get it. Didn't even mention Ellen Burstyn for the First Lady. So you said that you think it will probably be, sorry, the one from White Lotus. I'm
Oh, Jennifer
blanking.
Coolidge. Yeah.
Jennifer Coolidge, yes. Any others that you feel really strongly?
I feel like people like Caitlin Deaver, so I'm gonna go with her there too.
Yeah.
She's been in good shows already too. So I think her. It's kind of tough though. I feel like after that, it's kind of hard to actually feel safe about any of these, which kind of speaks to just the depth of these categories.
I'm gonna say I think Rosario's probably gonna get it. Dope Sick got a lot of love, a lot of attention, and she was a pretty at least advertised part of that show. We haven't watched it, but I think one of the ones from White Lotus, one of the ones from Maid, and Rosario would be like my top three picks for this category.
Hmm.
After that, it's hard to say, but
Right.
we'll see. Why don't we move forward though to outstanding supporting actor in a limited series? Where again, pretty stacked.
Yeah.
I'm just like reading through the names that I have written down here, and it's kind of hard because I feel like there's some performances that I was like, are those really the ones that I would
Hmm.
want to be nominated? Joe Alwyn is on this list,
For
Naveen Andrews
conversation with
from The
friends.
Dropout, and it's like these people are in the conversation, but there's just so many other performances that you want to,
Yeah.
give some love to. Well, which ones do you think are likely to get nominated.
Yeah, I think Murray Bartlett for White Lotus is the obvious favorite there. Definitely
Mhm.
rooting for that one. After that, though, like you said, if you look at some of like the predictions, it's like Seth Rogen, Pam and Tommy. Like, don't need that. You know,
No,
are they gonna
please
like
no.
go? Are they gonna go hardcore with Dope Sick, Stolberg, and Sarsgaard, Peter Sarsgaard? Maybe you mentioned Naveen Andrews for the dropout. I think that one's pretty likely,
Yeah.
honestly. After that, though, I think there's a lot of interesting thoughts. You could grab another person from the White Lotus. You could grab someone from Under the Banner of Heaven. A
Wyatt
lot of
Russell?
support. Yep, a lot of support for Matthew Good. The best part of The Offer, really showy performance, is Robert
Mhm.
Evans. Didn't love The Offer, but I wouldn't hate that, honestly. Um, if Gaslit does big, Dan Stevens. I think it's another one where it's kind of hard to really predict what's going to happen.
Yeah, definitely. I think Under the Banner of Heaven will definitely get some love here. So I think if Wyatt Russell got a nomination, I wouldn't be surprised. Chances on Ethan Hawke in your mind getting a nomination for Moon Knight? I mean, big name.
No chance.
No chance.
Oh
No
shit.
chance.
I mean, he didn't even get nominated for First Reformed at the Oscars. How the hell is he gonna get nominated for fucking Moon Knight?
I mean, the Emmys are not the Oscars, bro.
No, they're not.
Um, yeah, I mean, I don't see it either. But I think the thing is, we might be like, I don't know if discounting is the right way to put it, but we might be underestimating the power of the Disney, um, push here, because Disney
Yeah.
Plus is gonna want these nominations. They want to continue to get that prestige, I would imagine, especially for these Marvel shows to give them a little bit of heft. I don't know. I can see them pushing for it. But yeah, I agree with you. I think the only sure one in my mind is probably Murray Bartlett, and then Naveen Andrews is pretty much a sure thing in my mind as
Mm-hmm.
well. So let's move on to the next category, Dave. Lead actress in limited series or anthology series or movie. Um, man, what are your top like 2 or 3 for this one?
Yeah, this is a good one. I think Amanda Seyfried for the Dropout as Elizabeth Holmes.
Mm-hmm.
That one needs to happen. Margaret Qualley was widely celebrated as the best part of Maid, so I feel like that one's super safe as well.
Yeah.
I'd also love to see Jessica Chastain for Scenes from a Marriage. I thought she was really great
Oof,
in that.
that'd be great.
After that, though, I think there's a lot of things to pick from. I do not want to see Julia Garner from Inventing Anna. I don't think that's a good performance. It's not a good show. That would be really tough to see given how deep the field is, right? So after that, you have Julia Roberts, Gaslit, Viola Davis as Michelle Obama and the First Lady. You
Mm-hmm.
have Anne Hathaway, We Crashed, really celebrated performance. You have Lily James, best part of Pam and Tommy. I think there's a lot of things to pick from here. Elle Fanning, Girl from Plainville. Like there's a lot of options here. But I think after that top three, it's actually hard to figure out who the last two are gonna be.
Yeah, so the 3 you said would be Seyfried,
Quali and Chastain.
Chastain. I would say Viola Davis. Pretty smart money on her. I mean that show hasn't gotten very good feedback, but she definitely is a force and pretty much always gets nominated. Um, yeah, man. I mean Julia Gardner, hot name right now, just got cast as Madonna in her biopic
Yeah.
coming up. I would love that. I think that'd be a great look for her, and she obviously has won in the past. So yeah, I would probably say those 5. Do you really think impeachment, American Crime Story, is just gonna be totally shut out here?
Yeah, kind of do honestly. I feel like the Ryan Murphy sheen is gone. I
Yeah,
don't know.
I
But
feel the same
that
way.
that's something looming as like something that can get nominations that you don't necessarily want to see.
Yeah.
Will also be tough because something that doesn't seem like it's going to happen. I mentioned Daniel Deadweiler, Mackenzie Davis, Station 11 for lead
Hmm.
actress here would be a no-brainer if I was the one doing the nominations, but it doesn't seem like that show's going to get it done, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's really too bad. Maybe that will change in the lead actor category, where if there is going to be a nomination, it feels like Himesh Patel might get it for Station 11, right? Right?
I don't know, man. I think this is probably the deepest with star power for all the limited
Yeah.
series categories. I mean, Michael Keaton with Dope Sick, Garfield coming off an Oscar nom, Under the Banner of Heaven. Colin Firth kind of sneaking up right here with The Staircase coming out recently. Then you have Jared Leto, really flashy. We Crashed. Just so many names
Yeah.
with this category. And John Bernthal, We Own This City, like should fucking happen in my opinion. But I feel like this is going to be perhaps the most painful snub of all.
Well, it's interesting, right? Because Isaac has 2 limited series or anthology series in this with Scenes from a Marriage and Moon Knight. If he gets nominated for Moon Knight over Scenes from a Marriage, that'd be absolutely absurd. It feels like Bernthal has to get in there. You know, it has to. And if HBO, if like the one show that they get nominated in this category is The Staircase, which we haven't talked about, I've heard pretty good things from that show, but not something I'm super interested in watching. Man, I would be so disappointed. Himesh Patel and John Bernthal are just so deserving. I feel like one of them has to get it from HBO.
Right. We should also note Ben Foster, which is a HBO movie, The Survivor, about a guy who survives at a concentration camp in World War II by being a boxer. Ben Foster is the lead character there. Seems like there's a lot of juice behind him as well. So, like we said, a lot of big names here in all these limited series categories. Ultimately, I think a lot of people were thinking when it came out, maybe Sebastian Stan had some juice. Sam Elliott in 1883. Like, there's just so many performances in a different universe. Miles Teller was probably hoping for something with the offer here. Like there's just a lot.
There's a lot of good limited series out.
Sean Penn, Gaslit, another one.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we're going to move on to the best limited series, anthology series, or TV movie.
Yep.
Man, I mean, Dope Sick feels pretty safe, and so does The White Lotus. After that, I feel like it's kind of there's a couple of contenders. What would you put your money on?
Yeah, I think that's what's interesting about it too. Is we're like Dropout, Made, Staircase feel like they're all going to get some kind of a mix of acting nominations, but not necessarily super safe to also get in there with a nomination. Same for Under the Banner of Heaven. Something is going to miss out. Gaslit, another one. I would love Station 11 to get the recognition here. We Own the City to get the recognition here. I'm not feeling good about those though. There's so much to pick from. I mean, heck, not exactly my speed, but like it would be really cool to see like Netflix's Midnight Mass get recognized here. Different thing, but still very much worthy in a different sort of thought. I would love the Dropout to be the only founder show to get picked from here, of course, alongside We Crashed and Super Pumped. So I feel like that one's. I don't know. Do you think anything's safe in here after Dope Sick and the White Lotus? I don't.
I don't either. I think if I had to choose one that probably was, I'd probably go Made next, just because that's gotten so much acclaim and so much love. But man, I guess I'm just like, again, Station 11 and We Own the City all deserve to be in there, but I cannot see 3 HBO shows, maybe 2, and
Scenes from a Marriage probably has no chance to get the series nom, right?
No chance in my mind. And so it's like, is The Staircase really going to be the HBO show that walks away with all these noms? I would just be like, man,
that's fucking lame as hell. It really is. They never ride for Simon. They never ride for him.
I know. I don't get it either. Like, he's like so highly acclaimed. Like, why wouldn't you want to anoint him? I don't get it.
But, I mean, he's one of their most loyal guys. He makes more shows than anyone else for HBO, and they don't campaign for him.
That's just such like lightning in a bottle. I feel like you just want to like push this show forward.
Yeah, at least ride. I know.
So disappointing. Anyways, so that wraps up the limited series category. We're gonna hop over to comedy real quick, and comedy feels a little bit lighter. A few shows that obviously are mainstays. Saturday Night Live is always in contention for these nominations. I don't understand how the Saturday Night Live is still like relevant in these conversations, but it is.
And it is interesting too. Like, there's people we've seen nominated for years and years, like Kenan Thompson, Kate McKinnon, Cecily Strong, Aidy Bryant. But Bowen Yang, I think last year for the first time got nominated. It seems like he's very safe once again to get in there. So like, yeah, the SNL introducing new featured players and then churning that through. Obviously Kate McKinnon, Aidy Bryant, we think Cecily are leaving SNL, so there is room for new performances alongside Kenan, who's probably just reliably going to continue to be nominated. It feels like,
yeah. But those do eat up some of these spots, right? And
Yep.
it feels like in this supporting actress category, Kate McKinnon probably is going to get nominated because it's her last year to get nominated for SNL. I could definitely see that happening. Um, and then you have Hacks, Ted Lasso, Abbott Elementary, Maisel,
Mm,
Barry, Atlanta, Insecure. I mean, a lot of
lot.
these beloved shows, and not everybody's going to get attention here. I mean, what are the names that really stand out to you with this category?
Yeah, I mean Hannah Waddingham, Ted Lasso, won last time, easy lock in. After that
Yep,
though, Kate McKinnon probably safe as the last
I think
spot, but like
so.
kind of a lame non. Like she's not going to win, so like kind of why
Yeah,
bother? She's won it a bunch of times already. Kind of feels weird, you know. I'd really be
I would say
rooting
she's
for.
safe.
Yeah, I think so. Definitely rooting for Hannah Einbinder at Hacks. I don't remember. Did she get nominated last year? Because Jean Smart got nominated and won last year. Did Einbinder also get nominated? I don't remember,
I
but
don't think so.
definitely
I don't
should.
think she did.
You know, Alex Borstein won before with Maisel. You know, not as
She had a big
exciting.
season this year.
Yeah, but that's probably getting in there. I don't know. Like, I don't need two Ted Lasso nominations here. I don't need Juno Temple in this at all. I'd love Sarah Goldberg with Barry or some Abbott recognition. You know, Yvonne Orgy, I believe she got Insecure noms back in the day.
Mm,
That'd be cool. You know, but at the end of the day, though, comedy's definitely not as deep as drama or
no.
limited series. It's just the way it is. It's deeper than it was last year, where there was really very few things to pick from. We should note Zazie Beetz back in the mix with Atlanta, of course, and in a sense, you know, it's a different Atlanta season, different vibe for sure. Would kind of be a different type of nomination, honestly.
Yeah, I just don't think Zazie really had the moments. I mean, I guess like it would be the last episode and
Yeah,
that one where she goes to see Tupac on his deathbed. Are really the two episodes that stand out for her. Um, yeah, I think when I look through this list, like Yvonne Orgy stands out last season of Insecure, so I could see them getting some love or recognition here. Um, this is for last season of Barry, not this most recent season,
yeah.
right? Or is this for this most recent season?
No, that is for this season. Yeah,
Maybe Sarah Goldberg. It'd be funny for her to get this nomination because I don't find her performance very funny, but I
no,
think she had some really great moments, and I thought she really did a great job with that character this season. Yeah, I think like you said, Waddingham, probably McKinnon, and then I could see Borstein too. I mean, Maisel is always beloved, and she had a great season, so I would say those three are my top three, and then probably Orgy would be the one I really want to see get in there. So
right.
let's move into the supporting actor category for comedy. A lot of names here. You mentioned Bowen Yang is probably safe. I would guess probably Brian Tyree Henry gonna get the nomination for Atlanta in here. You
He
think?
fucking should. You
Yeah,
know,
for sure.
best performance of to pick from. You know, I
Mhm.
think the safest, of course, is Brett Goldstein from Ted Lasso. If we
Right.
remember last year, there was so few things to pick from. There were so many Ted Lasso acting nominations. I don't think that's
Mhm.
going to be the case this time around. You know, Nick Mohammed probably not going to get in
No.
again. Everyone else, Brendan Hunt as well, probably not. You know, I think a dark horse pick, which would be awesome, Carl Clemens Hopkins from Hacks.
Hmm.
Don't think that's safe at all, but it'd be a nice pick as well. And then you kind of have the reliable people that have been nominated recently for past
Shalhoub.
seasons: Henry Winkler and Tony Shalhoub.
Yeah, I think Shalhoub and Winkler will probably get picked. Put Tyree Henry in there, like you mentioned, Bowen Yang. Yeah, really that like last spot really up for
The threat
grabs.
of Keenan.
Man, if they do Keenan and Bowen Yang, oh no. Well, let's move on to leading actress in a comedy
One
series.
last note.
Sure.
He previously I think won for guest actor. Now he's actually a full on supporting actor. Wouldn't be mad at Luke Kirby, Marvelous Mrs. Maisel,
Thank you
because
for bringing that up.
he had his best season by far, and it was so satisfying. So
And also his
I
most to
wouldn't
do.
mind that at all.
Yeah, but he gets that moment at the end where he's like, gets to kind of give her the talking to. That would be the Emmy clip right there for
Yep.
sure, or his stand up. He was great doing the stand up too.
Hell yeah.
All right, so leading actress. I mean, I would say Issa Rae probably will get recognized. At least I feel like they're gonna want to give Insecure some love, and Issa's just really beloved. I mean, after that, looking through Tracy Ellis Ross for Blackish usually is pretty safe.
The returners, Gene Smart and Rachel Brosnahan, who both have won this before.
That last spot for me, I don't know, it's tough. I would probably say Quinta Brunson for
Abbott
Abbott
Elementary.
Elementary. It's gotten a lot of love. Probably one of the most broadly known comedies. I could see them probably wanting to get something a little more well known in there.
Yeah, I definitely root for that. I think you gotta recognize the new stuff that's good when it's here. You know, which will probably ease out or edge out like Kaylee Cuoco, flight attendant, which was there last time. Would do the less things to pick from. Also, Natasha Lyonne, Russian Doll season 2, in the mix. You know, she was still just as good as ever as that lead character in Russian Doll. So that'd be kind of cool. That's kind of a off the beaten path pick, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I'm not rooting for like Selena Gomez in Only Murders in the Building or anything like that. You know.
Yeah, I wonder if Only Murders. I mean,
this is season 1, by the way, for that.
Yeah, I wonder if that's going to get shut out or not. Maybe it'll get a series nom. I think probably the last spot there, I'd be worried about this, but Lily Tomlin, possibly for Grace and Frankie getting that nomination. She's gotten nominated in the past.
I think that's their last season too.
Yep. Yeah, it is. So I can see that getting some love. We'll see. It feels like there's some old timers and some new blood in here that are kind of always fighting for these spots. All right, so leading actor in comedy, Hader gonna get nominated. Sudeikis gonna get nominated. I mean, is this where Only Murders gets recognized? You think?
Both Martins, Steve Martin, Martin Short,
both of them. I mean, I guess you can't really like move one, like pick one over the other. I'd say, but like, right. I don't even really want either one of them to get.
Not that either of them needs like recognition in the at this stage of their careers. To be fair, of course, Donald Glover back after being gone, very popular when he is around. Anthony Anderson's been nominated many times in this category. In terms of like newcomers, there's not a whole lot. Honestly, John Cena in Peacemaker would probably be my favorite superhero acting performance. I thought he nailed the comedy he was asked to do in Peacemaker, to be honest. So I don't think it's going to happen. And of course, the best comedians in this category are the people on What We Do in the Shadows, Matt Berry and Kayvon Novak. Either one would be super deserving, but it doesn't seem like that's too likely.
Yeah, I mean, you also think Blackish always gets nominated, so if Sudeikis, Hader, and Anderson are like surefire 3 after that, it's like, how do you pick any of these guys to fill in? I mean, we didn't even mention Righteous Gemstones, but Danny McBride would be great, for that. Yeah, I would love to see someone from What We Do in the Shadows and maybe one of the Gemstones people to get a nom.
Oh, Little Dicky's up for this. I didn't realize that.
Oh, yeah, I don't think
Bird,
he's
it's real name.
But definitely like an interesting show to check out. And that brings us to the best comedy category. And I feel like Abbott Elementary is probably safe. Barry,
Ted Lasso,
Hacks,
obviously.
Ted Lasso, Maisel. I mean, it's really like, what are the shows that are going to surprise us in this category? Because you have Atlanta's probably going to get nominated too. Only Murders seems pretty safe.
Yep.
So then what are the ones that are either not going to make it or going to sneak in there?
So you have What We Do in the Shadows, and you kind of have like the critics pick, the real ones pick Reservation Dogs on FX. That seems like the one to sneak in there. But I don't know if there's a whole lot of like real push for like, The After Party or Our Flag Means Death on HBO Max, those kind of shows. Right. Cobra Kai, probably not. Insecure's final season is in the mix here. Righteous Gemstones,
that would be my pick.
Don't know. I would love them to kind of like switch up what kind of comedies they pick from. In a sense, it's a bit of a range, right? Because you have Barry, which is barely a comedy. Atlanta, which is unidentifiable. What We Do in the Shadows, which is very funny but very typical. Only Murders is a bit different, for a comedy, but more traditional. So in a sense, it's kind of a rich category where there's a bit of a variety of the type of comedy being represented here. So I guess you can't be too mad about it.
Yeah. I really hope that they lean into the comedy. I'd love to see What We Do in the Shadows get the nomination. I would also like to see Insecure get the nomination for its last season. Uh, and just like that is one that kind of keeps popping up as a contender here. I haven't seen it, but
Mm,
I don't know.
I need to
I
check it
really
out.
hope it doesn't get the nom. So we'll see. But yeah, I mean, there's just so many of these shows that we really love. I just want to see them all get recognized. Obviously, shows I don't watch are gonna get recognized, but man, I would hate to see What We Do in the Shadows or
Yep.
Insecure not get recognized. But all right, we're moving on to the drama categories. We're gonna start with supporting actress in a drama series. I mean, Julia Gardner feels like the safest bet ever for this category. I'd
Right.
say
Ozark.
Millie Bobby
Yeah,
Brown.
yeah, I think this is kind of an interesting one. Julie Garner, Sarah Snook, Succession, safe.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, Ho Yen from Squid Game is pretty safe.
Hmm.
She was getting nominations for the Globes last time. Then from there is where I think it gets interesting. Like I saw some people saying like J. Smith Cameron from Succession, which feels like that'd be quite the pick if that actually happened. That'd be like a huge Succession wave.
Yeah.
There'd be riots if Reese Seahorn doesn't get nominated for the final season of Better Call Saul after not being nominated at any point thus
Get your
far.
pitchforks ready.
For real. Uh, then you have like the Yellow Jackets people, Christina Ricci. You have all the other Euphoria supporting
I
people,
know.
Sydney Sweeney, Alexa Demi, Maud Apatow. You can make a case for any of
Yeah,
them.
man.
Um,
And
I
then we
haven't
didn't even
seen
talk about
Severance, but
Pachinko.
Patricia Arquette. And yeah, in Pachinko, you have Yoon Young Jung, who won an Oscar 2 years ago for Minari. And someone who probably has no chance at all, Millie Bobby Brown.
Man, that's insane. This category is so stacked, and I mean, we didn't even like mention Bridgerton, the morning show, which for as many problems that show has, always gets recognized. Yeah, I mean, I think Yellow Jackets is a pretty beloved show, so I think Christina Ricci probably gonna get that nom. Oof, I mean, this is really tough. I don't. If you had to pick five, Julia Gardner, Ho Yun,
Yep. Sarah Snook, for sure.
Sarah Snook. Yeah, those last two. I guess I'd probably go Sydney Sweeney.
So I want
Yeah,
Seahorn there. And then I would love to pick one of the Euphoria girls, for sure.
yeah. I'd go. I'd probably go.
You go
Oh
Sydney
man,
Sweeney here?
no, I'd probably go Maud.
Yeah, I think it is Maud.
I think it's probably Maud.
It's not the best Alexa Demi season. She's not in it quite as much, so you probably can't go
Yeah,
with her. Yeah, it might be Maud, right?
I think it's got to be. But oh man, this is so tough.
Probably not going to happen though.
Yeah,
This
because
is a
then
tough one.
you look and Pachinko is just such a masterclass, and you have a literal Academy Award winner that you're just like, no, your performance is not as good as these other ones. Like, what? That's insane. I don't know. Stacked drama series categories this season, and that continues, in my opinion, with best actor or supporting actor. Sorry, in a drama series. I mean, why don't we just get the Succession one out of the way? Who's going to be the Succession nom here?
Kieran Culkin, I think.
Yeah, pretty safely, I'd say.
But Matthew McFadyen and Nick Braun are also in the mix, I think. I mean, Nicholas Braun in the finale, that one scene alone, where it's like, souls are boring, Like,
yeah.
I say run it up. But
And then,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, and then I would say I think Squid Game probably going to have a big night. Oh Young Soo,
Yes.
maybe. Yeah, I'd say
the old man in Squid Game.
Yeah, I think he's probably pretty safe. I think if Winning Time is going to get recognized, Quincy Isaiah has a pretty good shot, right?
Yeah.
Right?
I think Winning Time, I think everyone is being run in supporting. I don't recall. Maybe John C. Reilly's in lead. Okay,
Yeah,
so
I think he's got to be lead.
honestly, Quincy Isaiah is the pick for supporting for sure. The funny pick is to do Jason Clarke, just to continue to piss off Jerry West.
Oh man, if they did that, even if they just like fake nominated him, like, and then they were like, "No, we're just kidding. It's actually that," which would be shitty, but that'd be hilarious.
I would say Giancarlo Esposito and Jonathan Banks are kind of boring picks for Saul. They've been nominated for playing these characters before. I feel like you don't need to do it again here. Eric Dane, Euphoria, bit atypical, but a thought.
that'd be a call. Oh
Yeah,
man, it feels like Severance can get some love here, right?
right.
Tutoro? probably.
Yep, I think so. I mean, Crudup has been nominated, or did he win? I don't even remember.
He
For
won.
morning show, he did
He
win.
won.
Yeah. I mean,
I can't see him getting nominated again.
not again, right?
I guess I didn't see the season. I don't know. Yeah, this actually might be where we get to successions. I could see Culkin and McFadden getting this.
Oh,
Honestly,
you know what the pick is for Saul here? It's not Banks or Esposito. It's Michael Mando as
yeah,
Nacho. I think that would be really
yeah,
inspired, to be honest.
that'd be
Tony
great.
Dalton, the pick was probably last season, not so much this season, what we've seen so far. Michael Mando would be pretty awesome.
That would be great. Yeah, I think we probably get two successions. I'd put my money on Culkin and McFadden, and then you get Oh Young Soo, Quincy Isaiah, and then fill in that fifth spot with.
Also, shout out Gil Birmingham in Yellowstone. Like everyone loves Gil Birmingham. He's awesome in Under the Banner of Heaven. He's very popular on Yellowstone too. That'd be a pretty inspired pick for a show that's both well liked and watched a ton.
Definitely. Why don't we move on to Best Actress in a Drama Series? Zendaya, just pencil her in or put her in pen, marker, Sharpie, whatever. She's getting the nom. There's actually a lot of shows on this list I've written down I haven't seen, so this makes it hard.
Right.
Carrie Coon with Gilded Age, maybe. I don't know. We didn't finish that one.
Yeah. I mean, Lord Lenny's been here before at Ozark. It's the final season, probably there, and could upset Zendaya. Then
Man, is Eve gonna get some love here?
Jodie Comer again.
Man,
maybe Sandra Oh again. I don't know. Probably bet against that. I mean, we talked about Crudup. I mean, is Jennifer Aniston going to get in here again for the morning show? In terms of Yellow Jackets, Melanie Linsky feels pretty safe here, but it's kind of interesting one where it's like these are all like well-liked actors and well-liked performances, but I don't know if any of these performances like really like rose up for this nomination to join Zendaya and Laura Linney. It's kind of kind of interesting category.
You would get really shitty odds, but to bet on anyone but Zendaya winning this is like stupid. So just basically pencil in Zendaya or put her down in pen in your sheet, and then Laura Linney probably too. I guess we'll probably get some Yellow Jackets love. Maybe Elizabeth Moss or Carrie Coon gets in there just for the track record of them winning other categories.
This Is Us final season. Mandy Moore. I don't maybe.
Oh yeah, good call. I can see that definitely happening. Yeah, that's actually a good observation. I feel like these are all like great actresses who these specific performances beyond Zendaya really weren't their best. So, all right, best actor in a drama series.
This one actually might be pretty locked down. Top 5. Yeah. Succession, Brian Cox, Jeremy Strong, Squid Game, Jung Jae Lee, Ozark final season, Jason Bateman, and Better Call Saul final season, Bob Odenkirk.
So you said Odenkirk, Cox, Bateman, Jeremy Strong, and who else?
Lee Jung Jae from Squid Game, the lead of Squid Game.
Yeah, man, is really Sterling K. Brown going to get shut out in the last year of This Is Us?
I mean, he got nominated in the past. I mean, that also leaves no John C. Reilly. That leaves no Kevin Costner from Yellowstone. No Adam Scott from Severance.
Yeah. That's tough. And Lee Min Ho, our guy, just
Pachinko. Love
left
that.
out. It's tough.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that. I mean, I guess
I agree with
you take out Bateman because that Ozark season is not particularly well liked. The final season, so he's been nominated before. Take him out, but like I feel like the other 4 are pretty unimpeachable. Cox,
I agree.
Lee, Strong, Odenkirk.
Succession, I think, is always have a big night.
Yeah, honestly. I feel like so Strong won last time Succession was up, right? I feel like this is the Cox season.
I mean, he was really great this past season.
Yeah,
they all are on that show. All right, so then best drama, we have. I think you can nominate 8 for this category.
Right. Yeah, it's a bit of a range. You don't know exactly how many you're going to get through.
Yeah, so I think like Saul, Euphoria, Succession, This Is Us, Yellow Jackets, Squid Game. Those ones feel pretty safe.
This is actually
that last spot.
I find this fun because it's variety of network / streamer. Like HBO is all
Yeah.
behind Succession here and probably Euphoria.
Yeah.
Netflix has Squid Game and Ozark's final season. Better Call Saul is AMC, Yellowstone's Paramount, Severance is Apple, Yellow Jackets is Showtime, and then probably not in the mix, but Stranger Things is also Netflix, Pachinko's Apple. Like, I like how it's spread out, you know? Winning
For
Time,
sure.
I love Winning Time to get in here. Doesn't seem like it's going to happen. Big fan of Tokyo Vice, no chance. So it's a lot of heavy hitters, though, you know?
I could see Yellowstone getting in there for
Yeah.
that last spot.
Honestly, I'm rooting for it. Like, I feel like you got to recognize different things, and I think Yellowstone probably is more necessary here than say like Stranger Things is. I'm curious to see if Euphoria does get through though. You know, like what if they only nominate like 7? Euphoria is just not there or something.
Hmm. Yeah, there's just so many beloved and good shows here. Like to not use every possible nomination feels silly. Um, yeah,
Totally.
if one of the Apple TV shows gets through, I hope it's Pachinko, just
Me too.
because I think that is an amazing season of television. But Severance is the bigger, more well known one. So I
Right.
don't know. We'll see. But yeah, I think those seven, that we mentioned, Saul, um, yeah, Yellow Jackets, This Is Us, Succession, Squid Game, and then probably Euphoria and
Yep.
Ozark feel fairly safe. So
Right.
we'll see. As Dave said, nominations are coming out soon. So drop below what you think deserves to be nominated or what your predictions are yourself, what you want to see, what you don't. Let us know your reactions. We'll also be doing our own reactions once they come out. Dave, any last thoughts though on these nominations?
Let us know who you want to see. Like you said, we're not going to get what we want. Just a matter of
Yeah,
uh, whether there's any quibbles to pick with what does get nominated. And usually they do a pretty good job because it's so hard. So can't be too mad overall.
absolutely. That wraps it up there for us this week, though. What do we got for next week, Dave?
Yeah, next week we'll talk about these Emmy noms once we know who's been nominated. Then we have new music from Burna Boy, Brent Faiyaz, the conclusion of The Boys season 3, the return of Better Call Saul's final season, and Marvel's return to the big screen, Thor: Love and Thunder. A lot of good stuff there.
Subscribe, youtube.com/nostalgia pod. Follow our best nostalgia best of 2022 on Spotify, and follow us on any podcasting platform you prefer. Catch you next week.